All right, everyone, we are back. And now that we've done our introduction, let's get into our first lecture, which is measurements, processes, and confidence intervals. So let's just define again, and this may be somewhat silly, but I think it's important to kind of frame like what is a measurement? How do we actually what are we actually doing? How do we define essentially a measurement? And really it's just, again, determining the amount of something that exists. So there's lots of different types of mechanical measurements: temperature, length, time, stress, strain, viscosity. And basically it's just comparison between a predefined standard and some measurand. This term measurand is something that I'm going to be saying and using a lot, and it's really, really, really important. Measurand is what we are trying to measure. It is these things. These are different. These are measurements, but my measurand would be a temperature, a length, time, etc. There are lots of different standards. So a standard is something that's recognized by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Lots of different types of standards. So a tape measure is a standard, a balance, a scale. There are different types of standards, and the act of a measurement will produce a result. So my measurand is my input. So this is kind of your measuring process. And so basically my measurand is my input. I compare it against the standard, and then I get a result. So very simple. You will really never do this type of measurement, and we're going to get into what type of measurement this is in just a second. But at its core, that's what it is. Measurand, compare against standard, get a result. Sometimes, and it's going to get a bit more complicated in just a bit. Significance of measurements, very important. We need to know what are the physical variables for controls process, so temperature control on basically when you're annealing sheet. Costs, so again, how accurate your measurements are can, titanium, at least in 2017, when I was in industry, it was $140 per pound, I believe. So when you're doing 40 tons of titanium, this measurement better be accurate. But anyways, uncertainty in a measurement is important. And we're going to get to that in a bit. Now, there are two basic, you could kind of break down measurements into two different types: direct and indirect measurements. So a direct measurement is like what we saw above here. It's a direct comparison. This is your measuring process in your diagram for a direct measurement. I'm going to explain just in a second how it is. So it just uses a primary or secondary standard. A primary standard is what is used to establish essentially like the unit. So there's a lot of different histories, and actually in our PowerPoint slides, we kind of go through all the different standards. But for example, we could define, I think a meter is defined by like the speed of light. So speed of light would be what is it? I wonder if I have it here. Just one second. Do I have? No, I don't unfortunately have the history. I don't have the history of my measurements here. Actually, yes, we do. Here it is. Let's kind of go down to here. So the history of the standard of length. So lots of different, you used to have an international prototype. It was a bar, but now basically, exactly, the speed of light is now the primary standard. So typically when you're doing a direct measurement, you are going to be measuring against a secondary standard. So basically a ruler. So if I'm using length, this is a secondary standard, simple measurement. You will really never be doing this. It's a simple measurement. We're measuring things that are so small and so tiny changes. You will really not be doing this. Instead, you're going to be using an indirect comparison. So the difference here is there's some type of transducing device that's coupled in order to measure. So your input is still the measurand. It's converted into some different analogous form, and basically to convert so it's intelligible, using this transducer device. Typically this analogous signal here is going to be amplified, filtered, or remotely recorded, or there's some function, y equals mx plus b, that converts essentially this signal based on the measurand or back and forth. So this is all type of, if I'm doing any type of math, if I'm doing amplification, filtering, that is kind of part of this signal processing step. So really, really important. Usually there's some mechanical input that is converted into electrical for processing and then back, especially for dynamic mechanical systems. And we're going to see that quite a bit in our lab activities when we get to controls. So the generalized, basically block diagram for when we're measuring, there's three stages. Stage one is detection, transduction. So we have our measure and. Sometimes there can be some calibration input or some calibration step required, but this is our stage one. So we're transducing essentially that signal. So there's lots of examples of this we're going to see in just a second, but there's some transduction of that signal of the initial measure and. The second stage is really important, which is some signal conditioning stage. So again, this is where amplification, integration, filtering, any type of function or math that's going to occur, it's going to occur in stage 2. And then stage 3 is just basically what's your readout. So not as exciting, essentially. In the sensor transduction stage, again, we're just trying to detect and measure and. It should be insensitive to all the different inputs. Noise and drift can occur, so we have to be careful of that and design our system to deal with that. This is just what we talked about for the signal conditioning stage. We have a readout. So we can think of an example of, if you have a tire pressure gauge. So, and I'm talking about one of the old ones. Probably none of you have ever done this, where you have you put it in there, and then basically it shoots out kind of this little, I'm going to bring one to class and see if I still have one. It shoots out this kind of analog stick, and then by the height of the stick, you actually kind of see what's the tire pressure gauge. So you put this, so they measure and the input, you put it on your tire, pressure's the input. That pressure pushes in here, there's a piston and there's a spring that's basically compressed, and basically, or this piston here. So the tire pressure pushes this, it compresses the spring, and there's an output here. So that sensor transduction is that kind of step where it's this analogous, pressure to force and then force to displacement step to transduce the signal. Here, because it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's an analog measurement, but I mean, it was not digital. But anyways, there's no like electrical component. There is no signal conditioning stage here. Now, you could think of it as you are kind of tuning it, or maybe there's some calibration step. We can kind of get deep into this. There is some spring constant, but anyways. And then the third step would just be a readout in our scale. You can kind of think of the same idea with measuring accelerometer too, but we'll get to that a little bit later and figure out how to do those. Now, there's time dependence. So measurements can be static. Oftentimes, especially in this class, they will be dynamic. Dynamic measurements, understanding dynamics is really, really critical. We will be dealing with some digital signals too in this class later on, especially when we're dealing with photo gates and a lot of these things. Last thing I want to kind of say before we end and start to get into a serious discussion about air, calibration is a very important step as I drop my pen. Calibration is extremely important. It can be single point. It can be multi-point. It depends on, again, the type of experiment, how much resources you have, where you have to develop. But my big thing for calibration, if I'm, for example, calibrating a force value versus a voltage, like you will be doing in your load cell lab, if I'm doing a multi-point, or if I'm doing a calibration where I'm doing this conversion, so let's say I have points here, voltage increases here. If I calibrate and I fit a curve, and let's say it's between, I'm going to say 0 and I'm going to say 10 volt. And then I kind of do some measurement and I have 15 volts that I measure, I can't continue to extrapolate this curve here. If I'm doing a calibration, I don't know anything about that system, this fit, even if it's an empirical, we can get into all the nuances of that, it only holds within your calibration range. So once you exceed that calibration range, we don't know if it's going to be exponential, or if it's flat, what's the shape of that curve and that response. So just be careful as you kind of go through and you calibrate that system. All right, that's it. Next time we're going to get into air and start to get into some statistical talk. There's lots of fun. I'm not going to go through this, but you can see it in the notes. And actually, one last thing before we go, or actually we'll get into this in the air analysis. But there's lots of fun discussion here, and you can see in the notes too about kind of the history of some of the standards. I have some old videos that go into a little bit more detail. This is a fun little section that I like to include because it is fun. But next time we're going to get into air analysis, and we're going to get into some statistics. So we'll see you then, and see you next time. Thanks. Bye.